Appealing to the needs of your listener base is key to making a successful podcast. But there's one listener who has slightly different needs than the rest. Make sure you're fulfilling their needs too. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. What does listening to your own show fulfill for you? What need does listening to your own show fulfill for you? Not what do you get out of making a show. Look, I've talked extensively both about how the act of creating a show impacts you as a person, either professionally or personally, or maybe both of those things. So, yeah, keep on hitting that endorphin button. Keep overcoming challenges. Keep learning. All of that is good for you to do as a podcaster. But what I want you to think about today is, what is it that you get out of experiencing your own show as a listener? Now, hopefully your answer to that question isn't, well, gee, Evo, I don't listen to my own show. I've done that enough as I produced it. Okay, first, no, you haven't. And second, seriously, listen to your own show, your own episodes when it's done, like a listener would. Now, back to those of us who do find value in listening to our own shows. Why do you do it? What itch does it scratch for you? Do you do it because you want to get better at the craft of podcasting? Yeah, look, I'm sure you listen to other podcasts, but you can't know why certain decisions were made by those other podcasters. Not unless, of course, you're listening to the new show, 3 Clips. Well, we're the new host for the new season of 3 Clips, 3clipspodcast.com. Anyhow, but you know what, and also the why you did things in your own production process. Listening back to your episode lets you know whether or not it worked in situ, as it were. Even long-term podcasters, present company included, are on the constant improvement train, more or less. Some of us listen intently, less like a listener would and more like an athlete reviewing game footage with their finger on the pause and rewind buttons, taking hours to go over just a few minutes of footage. Is that you? Do you listen to your podcast like a listener to give yourself reinforcement that you're doing a good job and that you know what you're talking about? Is listening back to yourself some sort of self-affirmation ritual to prove something to yourself? There's nothing wrong with that. Podcasting, like any creative endeavor, can make you feel quite vulnerable. Listening back to the way listeners listen can boost your self-confidence and give you proof that, yeah, you are good enough to keep going. Maybe it's orthogonal to that, and you listen back to your podcast episodes to keep you humble. Because in isolation, it is easy to, well, all the aphorisms I can think of are a bit crude, so let's just say, become full of oneself. And if you're not getting much or any feedback from your audience, maybe you're not getting peers to listen, or at least those peers that do listen, they're not talking back to you, it's up to yourself to keep yourself in check. Because what seemed good in the moment of production may not sound as impactful, deep, or as witty in situ after all. In a similar vein, maybe you listen for self-preservation reasons. I mean, chances are someone is listening to your show. Your peers might be listening to your podcast. Your competition might be listening to your podcast. People you want to make good impressions on, they could be listening. So you listening back can help ensure that nothing dumb was said by you on an episode. Or just better, that you're putting really your best foot forward. Or maybe listening back to your own podcast's published episodes keeps you on mission. It lets you be a bit more objective, listening can, at least more objective than when you're actually producing it and convinced this is going to work. Listening back helps you understand if, in fact, the product you're putting out hits the right notes. that it's likely a good fit for who it is for, and is, in fact, why they are there. The headline here, in case I've been too subtle, is to convince you of not just the importance of listening to your own content, but to give you some ideas of how to listen back to your own content. What mindset to take, what sorts of things you might get from listening, or you need to work to get from listening. Maybe some things you have not yet thought of. Me personally, it's a mix of everything I mentioned, why I listen back to my content, with a hard emphasis on ensuring that I am on mission. My mission is to make podcasting better with these episodes, and I want to listen back to make sure that I'm doing that with each and every one of these. But what about you? What does listening to your own show fulfill for you? What need does it fulfill for you? I would love to hear from you about that. Send me an email, would you? evo@simpler.media, or hit me up on Twitter, where I am at evoterra. Or you can even go to podcastpontifications.com and leave a comment or a voicemail now. With that, I shall be back tomorrow with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers!